So here are all of my encouragements for you all to make terrible decisions as I am the GM.
Ash has a crossbow bolt in her side, 0 dots in skirmish, and 0 dots in wreck. And I'm so excited to see this get even worse. So that's 1 vote for escalation.
Skelly has 3 guns and all the ammo.
Crossroads has no guns, but Crossroads is a gun powered by ghosts.
Have we established that your guns are special to you? I feel like we're establishing that your guns are special to you.
Before this crew, they were my only friends.
You've known us for 5 days. You've known those guns a lot longer.
These are my babies.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Rowan was starting to do this, and then he realizes to harvest. This doesn't help. Like, don't do that.
This is not.
No.
This is
Like,
not
don't do
this.
this.
Yeah.
Doing this to an executioner?
Yeah, that's not what you
just
want.
like this, like
We call that the go sign, you know? Like, yeah.
Oh man.
This theme's great. I will do a fortune roll. Notes. No thoughts. Head empty. 1! I rolled a 1!
Yep. Hello, everybody, and I please hope that you can hear me. It's your good friend Brandon O'Brien back again with another session of this stream's special event in collaboration with Speculate. Blades in the Dark, the case of the Cindered seal. All of our strange friends are gathered in the green room waiting to engage in some shenanigans. We literally just discussed what the shenanigans might be. It's gonna be a lot of fun this evening. But I'm so glad to be sharing this evening with you all. I'm very excited about what's going to happen next. I'm just going to type a thing in chat so I can remind myself of all of the cool ways in which you can support this channel. First and foremost, the channel itself, twitch.tv/ArvinEleron. If you are subscribed, you have access to all of the VODs, and you are financially supporting this channel in a very real and tangible way. So if you are not subscribed, I would definitely recommend it. Other ways that you can support this channel, of course, include the Patreon, !Arftreon, which will give you access to the Patreon, which helps you support this channel and all of the cool things that it does. It is presently at just over $210, and financially supporting this channel means that it can continue to do even more cool things. I should also definitely shout out the Patreon for Speculate, which will allow you to financially support more individual streams like this. Blades in the Dark, the case of the Cindered seal. You're also financially supporting our other Speculate event that happens on this channel, Rebel Crown, which unfortunately I believe is not taking place this month, but we are already making plans for July, and it's going to be a lot of fun. So financially supporting the Speculate Patreon not only ensures that these streams can continue to be the best that they can possibly be, but ensures that the content on the website speculateSF.com, where we host our audio podcast, can continually be edited at the top quality that it's presently edited at by our wonderful editor Rudy Basso, as well as ensuring that we can put more actual play content on that podcast coming up very, very soon. You're also supporting special episodes with the triumvirate that is Mike and Greg and myself, and we really like sharing more game content with you, so your support helps us continue to do that. Other ways that you can support this channel is by going to arvineleron.com, visiting the shop, which you can find at !Our shop in the chat, where you can purchase all of the cool merch for all of the cool things that take place on this channel. The YouTube, youtube.com/ArvinEleron, has all of the VODs present of all of these streams that take place on it, so that gives you an opportunity not only to watch more Speculate stuff, like in the case of the Cindered seal, but, for instance, to watch the premiere of Infinity and Beyond Infinity and Beyond's new Eberron campaign that started yesterday, which if you haven't seen, it's brilliant. There are parts of that VOD I still need to catch, but the parts that I have seen, absolutely astounding, so you should definitely check it out. Also worth noting on this channel, exclamation point BLM. We definitely on this channel support the Black Lives Matter movement and the um, global movement, the international movement to assert and affirm Black lives, to do the work that ensures that the struggle of Black people in the U.S. and internationally is understood and validated. So if you want to find out more information about the work that the BLM movement does and ways that you can support it, exclamation point BLM. Also, exclamation point Help Now gives you access to a list of WHO resources on mental health. So if you individually are struggling, or you know someone who is struggling, and you want to discover ways in which you can help yourself or help those people that matter to you in your lives, definitely check that out. I just want to throw out as an aside, we keep we have been assuming publicly that the conversation about the coronavirus has dipped in such a way precisely because everybody is doing their needful, making sure that they have been vaccinated, making sure that they're wearing their masks, etc. But out of nowhere, I just want to remind you all, if you have gotten vaccinated, thank you so very much for doing your part to keep the world that you live in as safe and healthy as possible. If you haven't yet got your vaccination, I hope that you are making an appointment to do so. And I hope that you're doing everything that you need to in order to keep yourself and the people around you safe and healthy. With that, I'm just going to join all of my lovely friends as we are about to play this game. I'm just going to press a button so I can just rudely interrupt them in the middle of whatever conversation they were having, in the event that they were probably attempting to solve all of the conflicts of the universe. I guess I just ruined that for all time, but I just really excited to play with them as I move over to the game screen. Say hello to all of these lovely people who are about to play this lovely game with us. And with that, I'm going to ask each of you to please introduce yourselves by telling all of the lovely people in chat who you are, what you do, and who you will be playing this evening in the case of the Cindered Seal, starting with Mike.
Hello, my name is Michael R. Underwood, he, him pronouns. I'm one of the co-hosts on Speculate, along with Brandon and Greg, aka Arv, our host here. I'm very happy that the indie bundle for Palestinian aid that I had a book in just finished and raised a huge amount of money. So I'm really grateful for everybody who checked that out. If you did pick it up, I think even more things got added in the last couple of days. So you should go back and check that out. You can probably find things on Twitter that will help you dig down and find random cool bits to enjoy. So that's the thing I want to shout out. And sometime probably next month, we're going to continue our game of Rebel Crown, Splendor and Shadow, where I GM, and it is a very fun time. You can watch the previous episodes on YouTube. That's me. I play Ring Dalmore, who is the group's spider, and they are also apparently the Porter den mother. So that's me.
Yes, this is true. And also, I've put a link to the indie bundle for Palestinian aid in the chat if you want to check it out. It has currently raised over $900,000 and still aiming for $1 million. So if you want to check out some cool stuff and do your part to support the work to free Palestine, definitely check out that content. But as we continue, let's continue with Jeoi Gawain Lin.
Hello, Jeoi Gawain Lin, game and fiction writer, pronouns he, they. I play Crossroads, who is the group's anxiety taser, ex-Whisper, currently Hull, known to the world as being made of meat, known to the group as absolutely not so. And that is me.
Nice, thank you. Next, Iori.
Iori Kusano, they, them pronouns, Clarion West class of 2017. Let's see. Fiction in Apex and Frozen Wavelets. Reviews in Strange Horizons. And I play Of the Flame the Ash, our Severosi Lurk, who is getting real up close and personal with God. Not necessarily thrilled about it. and is still having some lingering side effects from, I don't know, getting shot.
This is true, yes. I want to assume that you've recovered by now, but we'll see. And last but not least, Valerie.
Hello, Valerie Valdes, pronouns she, her. I am the author of Chilling Effect, Prime Deceptions, and the forthcoming Fault Tolerance, which will be out next year. 3 delightful found family space operas for people who like video games and silliness. You can also find me on Twitch at The Kids Are Asleep, in which I play video games after my kids are asleep. I am playing Carissa Skelly Skellcallan, the hound of the group, also she, her pronouns, hungry person with a lot of unresolved childhood trauma.
Yes, I see. So, um, where we left off in our last session of the Case of the Cindered Seal, it was the evening of Porter's Day. Our strange friends had just gathered some very potentially interesting information about an individual named Aldo Booker, who seems very fond of employing young children to do work of some nature that is presently mostly shrouded in confusion and mystery at this point. Some of the porters who have been doing that work admitted themselves to Ring Dalmor out of immediate concern that they were doing the wrong thing. But some information has been gained as a result. Meanwhile, our friend Ash had an experience with God, and it was pleasant. It went better than most interactions with gods in other universes have gone. So there's that. And seems to have gained some, at least has gotten tattoos. But that may mean something at some point in the future. We shall discover. And tried to enjoy the rest of Porter's Day. For the most part, had a very good evening. While some other questions and potentially threatening revelations are still yet afoot. But now it is the day after Porter's Day. Bright, but still not entirely unsnowed. Some individuals are asleep. Dern has obviously offered you all an opportunity to stay at the porter's quarters in the event that you didn't want to brave the snow, because the snow was very, very bad late in the evening on Porter's Day. So it would have been relatively difficult for you to just traverse the streets. And you all decided to just settle in for the evening. And that is when we start with Ring. Ring, you are presently still asleep. But I would like you to give me a 2-die fortune roll.
Blades in the dark. I've just been watching In the Heights, so this might be a slightly musical episode. We'll see.
I'm fine with that. I'm not gonna sing, but I have no problem with the rest of y'all singing.
1 and 4.
1 and a 4. Okay. Ring, what's the worst thing that you have seen happen to a non-combatant or one of your enemies in the Unification War?
I think I want to build on something that we've already introduced, which was that Ring talked about a war whisper.
Mm-hmm.
And I think because we've done a lot of like ghosty stuff, something that is worth thinking about here is, what is the lightning barrier situation elsewhere in the world? And so maybe the worst thing that Ring has seen done is a war whisper shattered the spirit protections that a town had placed, like to kind of keep itself safe from spirits of the dead kind of created during the war. And so we could like I can paint a quick picture of a hooded figure with a pronounced porcelain mask in a thunderstorm, pulling and bending the lightning into a piece of machinery that then causes to flicker and die the lightning, one of the sides of a lightning barrier, and then there's like a pouring of spirits rushing in before their own whisper like draws like a chunk of blood out of an arm and throws it up into a temporary barrier that cuts off the spirits, but it's not fast enough to keep the town from getting kind of overrun. I'm thinking like the wave of spirits in Return of the King, in that fight, and it's just it's a whole thing all at once. And Ring's job was to basically protect that whisper while the thing was being done, because the people defending that town were fighting. So we see that, and then we like zoom down as the rain gets louder as it's hitting the ground and like cobblestones and causing puddles of mud, and then everything is smoke and powder and screaming as there's like musket fire, pistols, bayonets, and it's just gross, desperate survival for Ring and their unit as this terrible thing is happening.
Okay, so
is that enough?
Oh yes, this is brilliant. We're gonna settle in this scene for a little bit. The scene is like of you and a small contingent of other soldiers, like you and 4 or 5 other men, like roughly 20s to 30s is like the spectrum of age between all of you. And this one whisper, cloaked, masked. The mask is this very unique kind of design of porcelain with these very curious kind of inlays. They're not drawings on the mask. You can tell, like, whenever it's bright enough for you to tell, you can see that there is that it's deeper within the porcelain than just something drawn atop it. But there are these like small kinds of lines and veins of color, of like marbled color within the porcelain, that look like spiders and their webs. And whenever you tilt your head one way or the other, it always looks like the spiders that you see are moving. And when you arrive to this village, you have no idea what the mission is. You were told you're just supposed to make sure that this whisper gets here and gets back to base. You have never seen this whisper on mission before. They never joined you in battle before. And they say nothing the entire trip. And when they arrive, you see that the village is like defense mechanism against the ghosts is very rudimentary. Like, their lightning fence is constructed out of like rickety planks of wood with like wires and glass wrapped around them. You can see that every once in a while the glass bottle traps that are used at the top of those fences, some of them are just the bottles of someone's rum or beer, and some of them are very ornate jars that like some family member took out of their home and decided they would have to give up in order to ensure that this was constructed. So at random moments all along the fence, it looks raw and rickety and starts looking randomly beautiful and then goes back to looking randomly put together. And the whisper just gets there turns to you, nods, turns to the village, raises their hands, and you see like individual bottles in the fence start slowly breaking into shards. Like they don't burst or crack. Shards just start lifting out of them and hovering into the air. And when they get sufficiently high, 12, 13, 14, 15 feet in the air, lightning strikes the highest shard and they just kind of carry down into the fence and start breaking other pieces of glass, and individual threads of wire burst against the fence and the wood starts burning and they start falling apart. And then the whisper steps back, turns to you and says, "Thank you. We can leave now." And turns around and prepares to walk away. The youngest member of your party turns to you and says something. You've heard him tell you this. Like, this is not a dream so much as a memory. You know that he says something and you remember what he says. But in this moment, you cannot hear him and you cannot recall what was said. He looks at you, confused, kind of pleading. And then you turn to the village and there's this brief flicker as you see a small child walk out of one of the houses, the very head of the village. Like, wipes their eye as if they had just woken up and is gazing into this like relatively dim afternoon, trying to discover what made that crashing noise. And when you look at them, there's this brief flicker when they stop looking like this young boy who you do not know and start looking like an obviously younger version of the soldier that you just looked at. And you blink and it's gone, and it's just that child again. And they look at you very timidly and just like gingerly step back into their home. You see the head of someone who may be their older sister or their mother poke through the ajar front door of this house, squint at you with absolute bitterness, and then take the child by the shoulder and pull in the door. And then behind them, all the way behind this village, you can see past mist and low-hanging clouds, an absolute avalanche of black spectral figures rushing towards the village. And you hear the whisper say behind you, "Anytime you want to leave, soldier." And when you turn to face the whisper, you are not seeing soldiers anymore. You see a younger version of yourself. A younger version of Skelly, who you've known for a while, so you, like, this is the youngest Skelly that you've ever met. You see Ash, as you've known Ash. You've seen Ash in the present age. And you see 4, 5, 6 porters just like poking their heads between where the companions that you've known are standing, looking up at you like absolutely confused about a thing, pleading to you silently with their eyes for some kind of answer about what happened. But they don't say anything. And before you can ask anything or say anything, just this wave ocean of black swarms above them. You just see dozens of ghosts just rush over all of their bodies. It moves liquid like water, but is never transparent enough for you to ever see what's happening underneath it. But for very rare splashes of movement, the wave of shadows dips down low enough to where you would see someone's head, but what you see instead are just like skeletons and muscle, and then it will rise above them again. And then it dips again, and you see them whole, unharmed. And then it ebbs again, and then you see, like, broken bone, splashes of blood. And ahead of them is the Whisper again, looking back at you, slowly taking off their mask. Before you see what is behind the mask, you wake up in a cold sweat.
I think if I can add a detail to then be a bookend, that when the wave came in, we saw Ring clutching something around their neck, which longtime viewers of the show would recognize as a Spirit Bane charm. And Ring wakes up and clutches the Spirit Bane charm, which is still wrapped around their neck, hard enough that as they release it, it's drawn blood. And then we pull back, and there's like a dozen Spirit Bane charms over their head post. And functional Spirit Bane charms have like a crystal in them, and of the 12, like 9 of them are clouded and cracked.
So you are now awake, absolutely flustered. Is there anything that you'd like to do as you're still like awake in this moment right now?
I think Ring throws the layers of covers aside, and walks basically just 2 paces as we reveal that this is a very small room, to a box on a short table, and open the box and unfolds a worn parchment, bundle of parchment, and Ring just starts reading names, but it's last name, first initial, and we see Ring doing basically this ritual of reading the names of all of the people they served with that died under their command, which is a thing that they do either in the morning or at night or other times, as like a grounding mechanism. And like if we're seeing it with a camera, I think like the scene starts with a sepia tone, and someone very slowly moves a slider to take the sepia down and bring the color saturation back up until it looks like real life. At which point Ring folds the parchment, puts it in the box, closes the box, and stands up and turns around.
Just as you're putting it away, before you actually get up, there is a very intense knocking at your door.
Grab a blanket and throw it around like an improvised cloak, and then head to the door, grabbing a knife off of a table along the way.
Okay.
Because it's Duskwall.
I mean, yes, fair. So you open the door.
Yeah, so open the door with the hand that has the knife to be able to keep it out of sight.
You open the door, and Dern is standing on the other side of the door, looking absolutely flustered. There are few times in your life you've ever seen Dern like this breathlessly worried, and it's always just about Porters. He hasn't even expressed this kind of breathless frustration about you, but for the kids he will always express this kind of like worry. So you immediately can tell, just by the look on his face before he speaks, that a Porter thing has happened.
Yeah, I think if it's still like early winter out, then Ring would kind of usher Dern in immediately and start and like set the knife down on a counter and say, "Is there time for tea, or do we need to go?"
like he looks at you and then he just like pauses for a moment and looks down, and then he looks back up at you and says, "That business you were talking about at the feast with Moss and the others. Is there something I need to know about that?"
It was late enough. I didn't want to keep you up another however many hours. Booker or people that work for him have been coming at me and some friends, and we've been trying to backtrack, figure out what his angle is. Then Moss and a couple said that they'd been doing jobs for Aldo. I said that they needed to go and tell you. Don't know that they did. My best guess is that he's grooming porters with high pay to pick them off and fit them into one or another gang subsidiary or whatever he's got going on. I didn't know how big his reach was. I talked to my brother, and it sounds like he's like an old noble house unto himself, but with a business mind instead of his head in the past.
All Yara told me was that kids work for people in Brightstone for a little extra coin, and I don't like anybody in Brightstone, but it's money, and they're living. Those are the rules, right? And then I looked for a couple of the older kids. The ones who didn't make it to the party. I figured I'd check on them, make sure they weren't drunk or beaten in an alley somewhere. 8 ring. 8 children. Can't account for either of them. No one knows where they are, and the kids that I think do aren't telling me anything. I'm worried. I'm worried because the very last conversation we had about not knowing where porters were in the middle of the day was also a story about you almost getting stabbed in the middle of the snow. So I'm understandably perturbed at the moment. And Dern starts pacing. You can hear Dern like repeating like an old like you know it as the beginning of a fairy tale that just kind of awkwardly sounds like a prayer. He's never done this to you. He's never done this in front of you before. Like, he's just kind of giving in to a moment of superstition in this moment, and then he freezes. Turns up to you and says, "You need to find these kids. Ring, I need just to know that they're fine. Preferably if they're not tied up in any of this Booker business, but if they are, I'd like to know, and know what. And I'd like to know it today. I'd like to know it yesterday."
I'm on it. Just give me the names.
And he lists 8 names to you. I'll give you the opportunity to qualify those names on your own. Because you know these kids. I like giving you the opportunity to qualify the part of the world that you're in. So,
Yeah.
you can decide those names on your own.
And these are older kids, so teen
Yeah.
range.
2 of them are as young as 10, but the higher range is 16 to 17.
I can I can come up with a couple now if someone could take notes, and then I'll come up with the rest when we move on
Oh
to
yeah,
another
definitely.
scene. But I
'Cause
think it's good.
I'll add one name, which is Brooke.
E at the end.
Yes.
Okay. I think another is Wester,
Uh-huh.
and one of the younger ones is Thistle.
Okay, cool. That's enough for now. So yeah, you have now been given essentially a job.
I think Ring would, while Dern was talking, had already started putting on tea, and then like as he's finishing up, kind of squats down, reaches into the kind of the cabinet that had the various boozes. Their hand goes up, back, pushes a couple things aside, and pulls out like a very nice bottle that has like 2 inches left. And as it kind of turns and the camera like sees it, we see that this is specifically a gift from the captain commander of the Akuro Sea Navy.
Mm-hmm.
And basically, you know how like some like glass liquor stuff will have something in the bottle where the bottle was blown and there's a hole in it. I think for the Akuro Sea military, they give challenge coin. They can give challenge coins in bottles, and so there is a challenge coin from this captain commander that the award given was the coin and the bottle.
Mm-hmm.
And Ring takes it out, and there's very little of it. Pops the cork again and pours like fully half of what is left, and slides it to Dern and say, "You'll need your shit together if we're going to get to the end of this day."
He takes it
You
very
can fall
gingerly.
apart in front of me, but we can't fall apart in front of those kids. They're holding on by white knuckles as is.
Mm-hmm. He takes it very gingerly from you and just kind of like holds it warmly in his hands. Nods and slowly starts to drink, and then there's another knock at the door. As for that other knock, which of the three of you wake up and meet Ring at this room? I imagine it would be Skelly, yes.
I think the water is still going, so Ring walks over, picks the knife up along the way, is still wearing a not pinned together blanket, and kind of cracks the door open, sees that it's Skelly, visibly relieves, and says, "What's up? Hope you don't have bad news too. Starting the day early."
No, I just smelled tea.
Come on in. Dern, you know Skelly, right?
Oh yeah, we met at Porter's Day, obviously.
Give me just a few seconds, and then kind of Ring disappears into the back to put on clothes.
Mm-hmm. While that's happening, Dern very like awkwardly, silently sits as Skelly is in the room,
What happened?
slowly drinking tea. And when you ask that question, he looks up. Some of our kids are missing. I figure it's the business you were on about in the evening. I really need to know where they are. I've already spoken to Ring about it. You don't mind doing me a favor, do you?
Skelly has an immediate, intense flashback of sitting in front of a large wooden desk at the orphanage. The person behind it steepling their fingers and saying exactly the same thing to her. She turns around and punches the wall.
Dern looks at you briefly, very confused, and says, like, Are you upset?
This is really bad. I'm sorry. Skelly grabs the bottle and chugs what's left.
Give me a 1 die fortune roll.
Oh God.
Wait,
I'm
in fact,
sorry.
wait. Hold on. I really want to process all of the actual things that you can do in this moment.
Womp womp. Accidental trauma overload.
Right, yes, give me a 1 die fortune roll.
Oh.
Oh Lord.
Here we go. So that's a 2. Oh God, am I about to swallow a challenge coin?
Okay.
I don't think it
Oh,
can come out the
so
neck. I think that's
for-
like an important part of how that works, the
For
design.
clarity, I was thinking that the bottle was pressed into the outside. The coin is pressed into the
Okay.
outside, like it's a like it's the a wax seal, but that there's like a divot in the glass where the coin is inserted, not in the liquid.
Okay, got it.
Yeah.
Never mind.
When you described it, I imagined it like a Ramonet bottle, but with a challenge coin instead of a glass bead.
That
would
is also
be
how I
cool.
imagined it, yeah.
Yes. Right, so the very curious thing about Blades in the Dark, which I think is a very modular game that offers you a lot of resources to do a lot of very interesting things with negative character interactions, is that being drunk is neither stress nor harm. But I do think it's worthwhile to point out that a 2 means you didn't handle your liquor very well or your trauma very well. So I'm just going to note that privately to myself, and that's going to have consequences. But we're going to continue as Dern looks at you very wide-eyed and says, if you don't know me, you know Ring Dalmore. And Ring Dalmore knows me. I mean no harm to these children. I just need to know that they are safe. So if you're upset with me, you don't have to be. I'm already pretty upset with me as it stands. Because if I'm supposed to be there for them and I don't even know where they are, there is no upset you can have that matches mine.
I'll find them.
You have the sound of someone who's about to do something very unnecessarily brutal.
I'll find them. I always find them. She puts the bottle down and serves herself some tea.
And just as you... Give me a 1 die fortune roll. Or roll finesse. One of the two.
Let's see. I have no points in finesse, so I feel like that's got a better potential to be bad if you are looking for a bad outcome.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so let's do finesse. All right, here we go. Okay, what's my position?
Your position, jeez, is desperate. Your effect is standard because it's just a cup of tea.
Oh dear.
Uh-oh.
Gonna burn myself here. It's like, congratulations, you are now so drunk that everything you do requires a finesse roll. So it's a 5 and a 4. So lowest result is a 4.
Okay. Your hand is trembling the entire time. Not with drunkenness so much so as like the beginnings of pure rage. But you do pour yourself a cup of tea, and nothing happens to your teacup or your teapot, and as you are finished pouring, that is when Ring re-emerges from the room. And we're just going to very like unless there is an emotional beat that you'd want to touch in this moment, Ring.
I think in a movie, Ring would have come out earlier, but this is a realistic amount of time for Ring to have fully dressed for battle. So Ring has like a like a thick duster, a tricorn hat, a rifle over their shoulder, like pistols at the waist, and a like a kind of a chipped and pitted saber at their side, and has their hair up like back and then like double flipped up with a like a pin making a quick bun, and grabs like a loaf of bread out of a bread box and like rips it in two and tosses half to Skelly without breaking pace on the way to the door. And as they're opening the door, say, "Let's go."
Okay.
Dern can let himself out. They're tight. Like it's fine.
It's Dern's house.
Skelly woke up covered in weapons, so like she doesn't have to do anything.
Noted.
I was thinking that Ring had gotten home, and that's how I was framing this. But
y'all spent the
underground
day.
passageways.
So yeah. So with that, we will cut right to talking the score in a little bit. But first, we're going to take the very quickest of breaks. And this is a reminder to everyone in chat, obviously, that a break for us streaming is a break for yourself as well. So feel free to stretch, make sure that your bones do what bones do, and that your muscles do what muscles do. Cycle some fluids, get a refresh of whatever beverage you're drinking, and we will be back in about 10 to 15 minutes with more of Blades in the Dark, in the case of the Cindered Seal, in just a little bit. So, we will be right back. And we are back. Some shenanigans are about to be afoot in this game of Blades in the Dark, the Case of the Cindered Seal. Where we just briefly left off. Our strange friends, or at least Ring, has just been personally asked by his good friend Dern, with whom they parent the Porters, to check up on 8 of the older kids in the group who weren't present for Porter's Day, presumably haven't been present for a while. And Dern just wants to be sure that those kids are okay. So now we're about to engage in shenanigans. Being that this is a score, we should probably have a conversation about exactly what kind of score it is. But I also want that to obviously be an RP moment for you all, so I want to give me a sense of how you set the scene that you have gathered the crew together to let them know what is about to happen as we get into the planning stage.
Yeah, if we were all camped down in that warehouse slash adjoining buildings, or stuff that's close to it, getting everybody assembled doesn't seem that difficult. I would pitch that we'd be doing any planning in a loft, with a table somewhere.
There is a meeting room on the 3rd or 4th floor of this building that is typically where Dern would organize large scale deployments of porters throughout individual districts or across districts for a particular kind of job. Porters like to do relays of individual packages, for instance, whenever they don't want someone to know which kid has a particular high risk package. So there is a map of Duskfall on a very large high table in this room, and it is sufficient enough for you all to be able to get a good bird's eye view of any individual district or the entire of the entirety of Duskfall, if you wish.
Yeah, so I think if it's okay, it probably makes sense to jump in after Ring and Skelly have read in Ash and Crossroads on what's up. And I think Ring is going over the books and identifying the last on the books job that each of these kids did. Because as a crew, we have improved quality for documents.
Okay, so that means that you give me a roll that is most likely
a study that I just put points in.
Yeah, it's actually most likely a study. Yes.
Yep,
So, your position is controlled, and your effect is great.
Would someone be in a position to give an assist? I was thinking maybe Ash, because Ash has probably has her own record keeping for the shop and might be the one who could most easily parse somebody else's ledgers.
Makes sense to me.
Okay.
So if you're able to offer an assist with a stress, I don't remember if your stress situation is bad. If it is, then I can just handle it.
I've got 4. That's plenty. I mean, I have 4, therefore I have room for more.
Okay. Ash just living large with that stress there. I admire the bravery. So yes, please take stress, and you will gain 1 bonus die.
Right, and that's controlled standard.
Controlled great.
Great. Okay, and 1 bonus die. for help. Let's start the day off right. Nope, absolutely not. 312. Maybe I abandon this approach.
Right. Okay. So, it also needs to be contextual. So, this is what I will say. The books are still good. The books are still valuable. What you learn isn't that the books have been poorly kept or that you are incapable of discerning them. What you learn is it becomes obvious to you that for some months now, these 8 kids have not been keeping proper internal records of their own movements. It becomes obvious to you, like, that you compare individual kids from the list that Dern gave you to 2-person or 3-person missions that they would have done with other porters who aren't on the list, who cite that they were supposed to be present, joined them on that mission, and then briefly disappeared. But on that same day at that same time, those kids wrote nothing about where they were or what they were doing there. Not even for those jobs. That has been going on for weeks now. It is impossible to discern as a result where they would have been moving. What mildly becomes obvious to you, however, is that there are a handful of districts that they never say what they're doing. Like, it seems as if they never work those districts whatsoever. And that becomes interesting to you at that moment. 6 out of the 8 of them from up to a few weeks ago seem to have never worked a job in Brightstone, never worked a job in Dunslow, never worked a job in Knight's Market, and only have worked jobs in the docks that are near Dern. And you know that that's weird because you know that, like, the wider scope of the of porter action in Duskfall is such that if you put a pinpoint on every job that a kid has done in the city, you just have an ocean of push pins.
This is... I've been distracted. I haven't been able to keep track of things well enough. There's a whole picture in negative here. I was just too close to see it. We'll need at least some thread to pull on. Not going to be viable to just go stomping around a whole district of the city. Not with the last couple of days we've had.
Mm-hmm. Give me a 2-die fortune roll. Let's see if a random thing happens in this moment. It mightn't. I'd like it to happen.
A 1 and a 4.
Hey, 4 is enough. All of you just kind of like you observe the books, you compare them to the map. Do you make any markings on the map itself?
I probably mark in something that can be erased unless I have like a fresh, separate map that doesn't have to get used for something else.
Oh yeah, like Dern has reams of paper maps, and like the map that is on the table is already one that is marred with like the entry wounds of pushpins, and like even the odd knife. So like this map is pretty scarred already. No one's going to be upset if you use this map.
Yeah, so then I'd be marking the jobs when there were conspicuous absences and where they were.
Mm-hmm. while the thing that is about to happen is happening, Ash, can you give me a one die fortune roll while I describe what's happening elsewhere in the room? Which is, Yara enters the room with a tray, 4 very small teacups, and a very large pot of tea.
That's a 5.
I'll get to that in a moment. Yara's like very nervous, like you can tell that Yara's hands are trembling as she holds the tray. So she's moving like very quickly from the staircase to the table so it doesn't obviously fall out of her hands. But she gets to the table safely enough, and pours you all a cup of tea. Looks very awkwardly at the map, squints, and then puts the teapot down and is making her way back to the staircase.
Nope. Skelly blocks the door.
Oh Lord. You
Yara,
blocked the door.
Just casually steps in front of it.
Just a quick question, Yara. Have you seen Thistle this week? And Thistle is the younger, the one that I flagged as younger, so closer to Yara's age.
Give me a roll.
I can always tell when someone is lying.
You can always tell when someone is lying, but now you need to get Yara to say something first.
Okay, just want to flag that up ahead. Up
Noted.
front,
Noted. One of the things that I keep remembering about Ring Dalmo, which is why
Well, I didn't start with this ability, so I haven't been able to lead.
When you got it, I keep in mind. I guess I need to never lie to Mike in game now.
Or just tell me when someone's lying. That's a 4.
It wasn't gonna be a fortune roll. I wanted you to roll an action.
Oh, I'm sorry. What should I re-rolling?
I mean, you need Yara to tell you something. What are you going to do to make Yara tell you something?
I can assist with a command roll, but I don't know that I would be much help with the sway roll.
So I'm going to start with consort, and I may have to punt to command depending on how things go. So this is like, unless you think here I'm going to have greater effect with command.
Both are fine. I was going to obviously tell you that you like even beyond the potential assist that Skelly might give you, if you do roll command, you are getting 1 bonus die just because Skelly is in the way of the exit. But you don't have to. And, I mean, command obviously has emotional consequences for this scene.
Right. So I want to start with consort, which I think is... to step over and kind of kneel down to speak with Yara kind of at level, and look Yara in the eyes. And this is also how I'm like signaling that Ring is in a position to be able to kind of read micro expressions and things like that to tell if someone's lying. Okay. What is the position and effect here with consort?
Your position is risky.
Okay.
Your effect is standard.
All right. And consort is no bonus dice because I'm not leaning on the intimidation. Ooh, cannot buy a 6 today. That's a 2 and a 2 and a 1.
Okay.
Why did that hurt me today?
Poor mother is too bothered.
Like, what happens obviously in context is this child is immediately concerned about the fact that you are attempting to ask a serious question about one of the porters who may or may not be up to mischief, while a stranger has blocked the exit. That obviously comes with feelings. She hesitates for a bit. You can tell like she's constantly looking over her shoulder at Skelly. And then she shakes her head. You know that she's lying.
Yara, dear, people are in danger. More people than I knew yesterday when we talked about how the city can be very dangerous. I know that you and Thistle play together. Everybody here knows everybody. And I'm sorry that I haven't been here to notice all of what's been going on outside of what Dern and I can keep track of. I need you to tell me with your words when you last saw Thistle. It's very important, and I'm not angry. We're just in a rush because people are in danger.
Give me another roll. Most likely consort. It can also be sway. I will also tell you that I have a devil's bargain for you.
Well, I'll always hear a devil's bargain, is what we say.
Okay.
I have a
cool.
backup plan.
The devil's bargain that I have for you is the consequence of this entire interaction is not only that Yara will feel like you and your crew are less trustworthy, but there is a likelihood which will be complete on a 4-segment clock that will not tick today. That word will spread of this interaction in such a way that will lose you favor with the porters and potentially with Dern.
Well, I'm absolutely not taking that, but it's a very fair devil's bargain.
I tried! The devil
I
is always
could-
trying.
I could have Crossroads do something in the background while Ring and Skelly are talking with the living person.
I'd like to hear what you have in mind.
So, because there's a pot of tea, and tea leaf reading is a form of augury, and Crossroads was a whisper priest in its meat shape, and random flashes of what it used to be keep coming back. I was thinking while this is going on, Crossroads could possibly just suddenly take up a spoonful of tea leaves and swirl them about in its tea, strain the tea into its stomach with the blood, i.e. wine, and then do a tea leaf reading and attune through it to try and find out where they should go. They meaning the party.
I will allow you to do that. I have a devil's bargain for you as well.
Oh no. Oh no. Okay.
Do you want to
What
hear
is
what?
it?
Do you?
I would love to hear it.
Right.
I follow in Mike's footsteps. I would love to hear such a thing.
The narrative consequence of you, essentially giving in to your past background would be that you will not stop attuning.
But I already don't stop attuning.
No, I mean on a regular basis. Like I will ask you to attune or roll fortune for like a series of potentially hostile interactions, where essentially, the thing that will happen is, the consequence of attempting to read tea leaves is that you will be almost permanently connected to the ghost field in a way that will become externally hostile until you rest.
Externally hostile meaning I could bake the strange friends?
Yeah, you could just start cooking people left and right, even.
Just
Oh.
you turn into just a walking Van de Graaff generator, basically.
Yeah. You will essentially be overcharging on a regular basis.
Oh. But can I direct the overcharge?
You can try.
Aw.
The mechanical thing that will essentially happen is on a 6 clock, every time that you attune and a bad thing happens, it will lead to a terrible thing happening in the future until you until you cure drain. Until the next time you cure drain.
See, part of me wants to take this bargain, but also I don't want to cook the party.
Mm-hmm.
In all fairness, everyone here has gotten like electrocuted at least once.
Yeah, but that
And
was
we've been
like
fine.
Yeah, but
That's
you've
been
been
like a
Ash and
tickle.
Pikachu. You've been Ash Ketchum and Pikachu electrocuted. You haven't been murdered yet.
Yeah.
I don't think you can take a 6. I don't think you can take a 6 or a crit on a tune from Crossroads.
Yeah, like the last time I critted attuned, I blew up Melvir's house.
The last time you 4'd on an attune, you nearly killed Melvir.
It's very difficult
Nearly
to
killed
kill
Truffle.
a Blades in the Dark character in one roll, because even like unless there's no way to resist a level 4 harm down to level 3, you usually can.
Yeah.
But
like, do you
that's
want to
still very bad.
Do you want to inflict harm on your teammates? Is essentially what I'm asking. Please say yes. Please say yes. The devil wants you to say yes.
But I also like the narrative weight of Crossroads resisting what it used to be to try and figure out what it is now. And narratively, I like that route a little bit more than possibly baking the party, because I already know at baseline I'm going to be possibly baking the party at any given moment. So, so I'm going to say Ash at least sees Crossroads hand drift towards the tea strainer and then kind of hover and then forcibly pull back. But then it takes the teacup and then eats the entire teacup into the wine stomach. And then it thinks to itself, I don't understand how Skelly feels less stressed doing that.
Ash, upon seeing this, thinks that the problem is maybe like, oh, the tea wasn't strong enough. So she says, you know, when you think tea is weak, you don't usually eat the cup to compensate.
Also, while Ring is still doing the thing, I should point out the thing to Ash, which is, briefly, like there's this kind of flicker in your eye, just like a floater, essentially. But you see the Leviathan cross on the map, even though you know that it wasn't drawn there.
Okay.
And you
First
see it.
thing we need to address, actually, is whether or not Ash can get out of bed unaided to start poking at the map with the rest of them.
You're
Like,
standing on
I
your
think
own
we
weight.
got-
It doesn't feel nice,
Oh,
but you are standing.
Nice. Okay. Ash is going to go over to the map and start jabbing at the place where she saw the Leviathan cross. Which neighborhood is this?
You see it, above the Dunslow ghetto in the map, on the map. And like, as you focus on it, that's when it like kind of essentially like fades away and you see the map itself.
Ash hates this. But she says, I think let's start here.
while that's happening, Mike, you were still going to do a thing. I just want to make sure that resolves before we.
Yeah. So
I can't remember if you decided. Right, you did decide you didn't want my devil's bargain, but you still have to give me the roll.
I'm gonna consort again.
Mm-hmm.
I'm gonna argue that you gain +1d to consort when you gather information on a target for a score applies here.
Right, yes it does.
Okay, so I should have rolled a 4th die on my consort previously, but I'm fine to just take it now. And then I'm going to push myself to get yet another die and hope that across 5d, I will at least be able to roll a 4.
Okay. Position desperate.
Sure, I will take that XP.
Effect standard.
Okay. Theoretically, fine clothes applies here because, like, I have fancy clothes. I don't know that it really does.
Well, narratively, no.
Because
I
it's
feel like it would be
plus
kind of
plus
a
1d to actions involving stealth or charisma, but probably not here.
Yeah, not really here. It doesn't
So
narratively fit. I'm
desperate, standard, 2 bonus dice. Dear John Harper, God of Blades in the Dark, hear my call. You're probably not watching. I could honestly use like a level 4 here. Just a 4. I will fail forward. Let's go. There we are. Triple 4 and 2 3s.
I'm dying. Oh my word.
Other people will roll dice for the rest of the session. I think I am not allowed.
Oh my word. Okay, cool. Yara looks at you. Obviously, like, confused and a little upset. Maybe even a little tired. And says very softly, yeah, I've seen them. Thistle has been doing the thing that we mentioned yesterday.
Okay. Do you know where that job was?
The last time I saw them, they were supposed to be doing a job with Moss and one of the others, and then they let me know that they needed somebody to cover for them, and they headed to Dunslow. I don't know where, don't know why, I just know that they said they needed to do a thing in Dunslow, they'd be right back, and I hadn't seen them since. But I know it was a Booker thing, it had to be. So I didn't tell anybody. I'm sorry. It was just a job, I didn't.
The reason we keep the books, and this is like Ring grabs one of the ledgers and opens it and turns it so Yara can see. We keep the books so we can look after each other. So that if something goes wrong, we can find each other. If you do things that don't go in these books, it becomes harder. You should keep your own books, even if it's jobs that aren't for the porters. Because then if something like this happens, you can go and look out for your own people. I think it's very important to look out for your own people because there won't always be someone else to help. The grown-ups won't always be around.
Give me a 2-die fortune roll.
We'll see if the dice are nicer to me now. Absolutely not.
Oh my god! This is a hilarious game. I think roll 20 I think is conspiring against you. I'm sorry. That just plain sucks. I'm sorry.
Oh no.
That's 2 1s for those who are listening at home.
A 1 is not ideal. Okay, so that means Yara looks at you for a moment, and you can very briefly tell that Yara is considering doing or saying something, but doesn't do it or say it. Nods. Skelly, give me a finesse roll.
Skelly's actually going to step out of the way at this point because
Okay,
Skelly
cool.
doesn't feel the need to have the door still
Cool.
locked, so to
Okay,
speak.
cool. So they nod very awkwardly, and then slip out the door and down the staircase. Very
Was
quickly, very
was-
almost frightenedly.
Was anything in what Yara said a lie, from what I could tell?
Nope.
Okay.
Skelly sends Truffle after Yara.
Oh my god. With what intent? Please.
Follow. Just
Okay.
follow.
I love how the look on Brandon's face made it seem as though he was like, the cat will eat the child.
You have a panther, and the first thing that you tell me is, I want this panther just to follow a child. It's like,
Truffle is more like a Maine Coon. Just large, but not like a...
That's still a large boy.
yeah, that
he
doesn't help.
He is an absolute unit.
If it got up on its hind legs, it's taller than Yara. That's not ideal. But okay, I will say that Truffle very slowly, gingerly slinks down the staircase. Give me a 1 die fortune roll, Skelly.
Sorry, the Roll20 has decided it doesn't like me right now, and so it's not going to let me. Here we go. Okay, finally. That's a 4.
Okay, yeah. Nothing of note occurs that you need to be aware of.
Truffle's good at begging for snacks and stuff. Truffle is he is able to ingratiate himself with others as needed.
I can only imagine that it is very easy for a very large cat to make friends. But yes, nothing of note happens as Truffle leaves down the staircase. As for the rest of you, you have this information. I take it at this point that Ash would like to define the information that you would like to define the information that you have for the rest of the group, and B, this would be a good moment to actually determine a plan.
Ash is still looking over the map.
Mm-hmm.
And she's not even trying to get the others' attention at this point. She's just looking very intently. And did anyone even hear her the first time she said, I think we start here?
Crossroads did, because Ash made the comment about not eating the cup.
Thank you, big friend.
Mm-hmm.
And
so
now Ash is trying to remember the dimensions of the Leviathan Cross to determine how much of the map that was taking up, because that's going to determine, for her at least, the initial search area.
It is on the entirety of the Dunslow Ghetto. Give me
that's
another.
super helpful. Thanks.
Give me another fortune roll. 1 die. Or a tune, whichever you would prefer.
That's a 5 in a fortune roll.
Right. You notice 2 things as you focus on the map. you notice, not like in an obviously arcane sense, but it does stand out to you that um there is a warehouse in the Warrens of the Dunslow Ghetto, which is like the northeast corner of the ghetto. There is a warehouse there that would be a useful place to do a great deal of very clandestine work. But as you are observing that, you also notice um it happens so curiously that it doesn't really register in your mind until you stop to think about it. You notice that there are like corners and like um weird kinds of shapes to the edges of the houses in the ghetto that aren't on the map, but like you can see the shapes of space on the map shape change on it as you continue focusing on the ghetto, and you notice that those changes make it seem as if portions of the road patterns in the Dunslow ghetto looks like the etchings on the Cindered seal.
Is there a pencil at hand?
If one of you has one, there is one. I'll just say.
Yeah, I think there would be writing implements, right?
Yeah,
Ring
because
gave
Ring had one
Crossroads,
earlier, so.
Yeah, and Ring gave Crossroads one as a present. So
Yeah,
if
Ash is
Crossroads
actually
see-
going to start tracing on the map over what she's seeing in pencil so that it can be erased later.
Okay. As you do this, you feel a little dizzy, but you're not incapable of continuing to stand on your own feet. The rest of you notice, kind of silently, um, as the rest of you are having a conversation about what the plan should be. Ash has just been drawing on the map while while the rest of you were engaged in conversation.
And while she's drawing, Ash says, Crossroads, what's in your belly bag right now?
blood.
Oh lord! Oh lord! Do we
And
have
a
a
teacup.
qualifiable answer to the question of what is presently in Crossroads' stomach? Are
Yes.
there things that I do not know?
Okay, so currently, because I never said I emptied my stomach, there is the wine from Hunger's Place. There is a glass from Hunger's Place because I ate that.
Mm-hmm.
There's the teacup, which I ate. There is the tea, which I also ate. I put in the wine from the party because I want to have blood for Ash.
And now the teacup from just now.
Oh, I already counted the teacup.
Ah, okay, cool.
So there's one fancy shot glass, which is, I guess, made of glass. There is wine from booze from Hunger's Place, wine from here, and then a teacup.
Ah, okay, cool. Cool.
And I can
noted.
put more in there.
And
Because-
Ash says, that's just really a shame. I was kind of hoping for a pastry or something. Ash needs to eat breakfast.
I can go downstairs for snacks if you want.
Ash says, I think snacks would help me make more blood, please.
Crossroads opens its head and flies downstairs to get pastries.
This is the first time Ash has seen Crossroads use the second body because she was basically unconscious last time.
Yeah.
So she just stops and she stares at Crossroads' head just hinged all the way back.
There's the very briefest moment where you
And she takes
like,
some deep breaths.
Yeah, there's a very briefest moment as you see the head split open, you have this moment of like careful worry that you might be hallucinating. And then you just return to the action. So yeah. With all of that noted, we should probably definitely determine a plan at this point.
Yeah, like, do we cut to Dunslow where we zoom in on Skelly kind of leading the group through the neighborhood to try to find people or something?
I feel like this is definitely a stealth plan, right?
Yeah, like, does the job start when we get to Dunslow, or are we still doing recon in Dunslow to then jump into something specific?
So I will say that I have given enough information that you can begin at a place. If you wanted to start at the Warrens, that would be a good place to start. You wouldn't necessarily need more than that at this point.
Okay, does that mean an engagement roll or recon?
I mean, if you still want to do recon, I wouldn't be against it, but I do think that it would be much wiser to like make a plan and get into the engagement role. That's me. I'm not going to dictate the decision that you should make. If you want to recon, that would also be fine. But like it would be like a stealth or any other plan. I imagine that there is another plan that would also be very useful in this moment. Would also be valuable.
What do we think?
I vote we cut to engagement.
Cool. I just need to know what plan though.
And we can flash back to Skelly having had done Hunt as like a recourse for things. I'm guessing stealth plan.
Yeah,
and then the detail
stealth.
is point of infiltration, which would be
Ash gestures at the map.
Yeah.
She is so helpfully graffitied out for you.
If we're trying to infiltrate a specific building, then it would probably be what part of the building are we going to go in? Is it going to be, an upper window? Is there some sort of underground that we are able to access through our tunnels? We need to figure out which is the entry point that we're able to access.
Right. So I will give you this for free. I will say that like this is a thing that is well known about the Dunslow ghetto, which is that the Warrens is a warehouse and a half. Most of which like hasn't been like officially used by any like officially sanctioned company that in that region of Duskfall for quite some time. Where the adjoining spaces in the Warrens used to be housing for previously unhoused warehouse employees and their families. Because it was that kind of warehouse. There was a company store in the Warrens. It is now just like a pile of mannequins and dust. It used to be empty. It was historically empty, sometime just after the Unification War. But you are aware as a result that you can get to the back of the warehouse, and therefore into the warehouse through one of its like transoms or one of its higher windows from that back, or there are two like annexed housing spaces to the left and right of the back of the warehouse that you can get in essentially by just applying enough pressure to the walls between them that you will just push through one house and right through the warehouse. That would be obviously very noisy, of course, but you can attempt to apply any measure of stealth to that force in an attempt to not be seen or heard. But the windows would be wiser if only that they would also require somebody to be relatively small or relatively sleek.
Do I need to roll my healing clock before I try crawling through any windows?
That would be wise. I'm going to allow that you have that this is a free flashback for you rolling to recover before we all leave.
How many dice do I get?
Right. So
And do I get an extra dice if Crossroads brought me a pastry?
I wonder if do I want to give you
What if Crossroad bring 3 pastry, 1 in mouth and 1 for each feet?
Right. Birds don't have opposable thumbs. Yes.
okay. Right, so I know how this works. How many clocks do you have on your how many ticks do you have on your recover clock at this moment?
2.
Ah.
I am currently sitting at the level 1 harm from Crossbow's side effects.
Okay. I would like you to roll 2 dice.
Okay. Double ones! Ah!
Is this the
Right.
game just telling us to not try to pull a job tonight?
I really think Roll20 really wants to do you a lot of harm. So yeah, your recovery clock ticks up by 1.
And we could spend 1 coin to improve the result level of the downtime action.
We give a coin to Melvir and we're like, please buy medicine.
Yeah.
Well, you still have 2 coin, Ash, if you wanted to spend a lot of money just to heal.
Can I, to help Ash make more blood, dig in my stomach and give Melvir the fancy shot glass as a substitute for 1 coin? Because it's very
we can
fancy.
just pay for things in money, you know.
We have
That
money.
will-
We can
We have
use
money.
we
Yes.
can use Cheryl's money.
Yeah, that will not be
Crossroads
helpful.
wants to help. All the helpful things are in its stomach.
Let's
Also,
pay
this
for
gives
this
me-
with money. And will that, let's see. So that will fill my clock, won't it?
If you spend 1 coin, it should fill your clock, yes.
Okay, I am going to spend that coin.
Okay. What was the level of your harm again?
Level 1 crossbow side effects.
Okay, yeah, that is healed.
Yay!
I will.
I'm just gonna say that I'm keeping that shot glass.
Oh lord! Oh lord!
This is this Chekhov shot glass.
Crossroads is sulking because it couldn't help.
So you have fully recovered.
The pastry was super helpful.
You're still like a bit like tired and dazed, but you are no longer in pain, which is good. You can stand on your own cognizance. Like, yeah, you are ready to do a job. You are ready to engage in stuff. And with that, we should get into the engagement roll.
Woohoo! All right.
I will, in fact, let Ash roll. So 1 for Sherlock.
Given my dice right now, are we really sure I'm the one who should do
I don't know.
that?
It seems like we're all cursed, so I'm just.
I mean, your dice is not any worse than Ring's, and Ring usually
I haven't
rolls.
rolled yet.
You know what?
So-
Or do we want Crossroads to roll? I will let that happen as well.
Yeah, let's let
Chaos
Crossroads roll.
robot. Chaos robot.
Except, how am I taking point on this? I don't know what we're doing. I mean, as Crossroads. Crossroads doesn't know what's happening, really.
Like, I do think that narratively, if it is stealth, it is Ash, and it follows that Ash has healed up specifically to engage in the thing because we know that that's the thing that's about to happen. So I feel like on a narrative level, it needs to be Ash. That's
Okay.
me.
We can make this happen.
Yeah, I have faith in you. What's the worst that can happen? All once?
Starting
Why
in a
would you say that?
starting in a desperate position just means we get XP faster.
How many dice?
Right, so we're about to decide. You got 1 die for sheer luck. Is this operation particularly bold or daring? Take 1D. Is this operation overly complex or contingent on many factors? Take minus 1D. I think you get 1. I think you get 1 there.
Okay.
Does the plan's detail expose a vulnerability of the target to hit them where they're weakest? Or is the target strongest against this approach, or do they have particular defenses or special preparations?
So like, we don't know if they have special defenses or preparations, but also God's just guiding me now. So, do I get a dice for do I get a spare die for being on a mission from God?
We're gonna get to God in a moment.
That's the bonus Blues Brothers die.
Yeah, we're gonna get to God in a moment. But I will say,
Okay, we stand at
terms-
2 dice.
I will say in terms of the detail, that kind of evens itself out, so you're still at 2 dice. Can any of your friends or contacts provide aid or insight for this operation? Take plus 1d. Are any enemies or rivals interfering in this operation? Take minus 1d.
Can Dern and the Porters count as plus 1d here?
The porters count as plus 1d. You also get minus 1d for a thing I cannot tell you yet.
Okay, so we're still at 2.
Would it count as plus 1d if a member of the party is scouting ahead? Like Skelly?
And or Truffle?
And or my bird shape?
Skelly, give me a roll right now. Either hunt or... What is the other thing? Let me see.
I'm
this
gonna
sheet
pick
again.
Hunt. FYI, I have
You're
the
gonna
most
pick
stats
Hunt.
in it.
Cool, yes.
At this point, the way the dice are going, I need all the dice I can get.
Right. So give me a hunt roll. Your position.
And I do get, thanks to my new special ability Scout, if I'm gathering info to locate a target, I get plus 1 effect. When I hide in a prepared position or use camouflage, I get plus 1d 2 rolls to avoid detection.
Okay, so the bonus effect, the increased
Bonus
effect
to
will be
effect.
valuable.
Okay.
Right, which means that your position is desperate, and your effect has now become standard.
Don't forget to mark your desperate XP.
Would you like a free assist?
Would you like a free assist?
Should I take a free assist, Brandon? Is this recommended, or should we hold our assists for future shenanigans?
You can do whatever you wish with the assist. I also have a devil's bargain.
Oh dear. Uh-oh. Well, let's
Satan
hear
working
that.
overtime tonight.
So many devil's bargains! Devil's bargain bin!
Right. The devil's bargain is if you fail this roll, you will be captured.
And so if I take the bargain, I won't?
Right. Well, in fact, no. Let me actually requalify that devil's bargain. Um, if you like, depending on the quality of the role, there is a potential that not that you will not that you will be captured, but that um, even though you do gain information, um, you have the potential to um, give away information to the people that you're about to observe as well. Depending on the quality of the role, that if you if you roll well enough, that might not happen. If you do not, it might.
Oh gosh.
I've decided
Okay.
against the capture thing. That would be terrible.
Well, I mean, it would be dramatic. I'm gonna possibly regret leaving this to the RNG gods at this point, but
So are you taking the devil's bargain?
no.
Alright, cool. Cool. So, Desperate Standard.
Oh dear. Oh god. Okay, here we go.
Lord.
A 1, a 5, and a 3. Oh, phew. Thank God for the 5.
5 is good. 5 is good. 5 is good. 5 is good.
I'm over here like.
So that means that that's another die for the engagement roll. Also, here's some valuable information specifically for Skelly. This warehouse is huge. In it, you can see 12, 13, 14 teenagers and young adults, people like almost like in their early 20s, who are either handling objects in crates, offloading those crates into individual, like, not rooms because this warehouse is open, but like they're these little like areas cordoned off by cloth where you can't really make out a lot of what's happening in those sectioned off spaces, but you know that individuals are sitting in those rooms and potentially interacting with things that they have just offloaded from those crates. You can see some older persons like referring to paperwork, having very intense conversations about objects that are about to arrive in this area. You see in one cordoned off area that you can see from above the cloth cordon, there is a map, but you can't make out of what district or how much of Duskwall, but you know that that's a map there. You assume that most of the children here are the kids that you're looking for, but you don't know who they are. Before you leave that warehouse to return, you also notice, and I'm going to give you a moment to qualify this emotionally. You notice a very stern, stocky individual. First, have a very intense, like, you can't hear what the conversation is, but you know that he's having a very heated argument with one of the children, who may be only like 11 or 12. Not shouting, not striking, but you can tell that the child is very nervous, and you can tell that the adult is conveniently masking his frustration in the way that adults do, the very obviously tonal way that adults try to imply that they are not at all angry or disappointed in you. And then you see that man walk away out, like, for one of the back entrances to the warehouse. And when you see him open the door, you see like a quarter of a silhouette of a person. Give me a study, survey, or hunt roll at your leisure.
I feel like, again, for dice purposes, hunt would be the thing that I would be looking at, but I think survey maybe would just be more appropriate to kind of a general keeping my eye on what's happening here. So I'm going to do that one, even though it's fewer dice.
I have a devil's bargain for you. The way that I will phrase, I mean, I want to give you as much information as possible, but suffice it to say that um, the information that you're about to get is going to give you a lot of feelings. How you respond to those feelings, like the result of this role will also give us a sense of how you respond to these feelings and therefore how it will affect your position for the rest of the score.
Okay. I'm gonna leave it up to fate again.
Okay,
Just
cool. So no
we'll
devil's
see.
bargain.
Nope.
Cool.
Nope.
Cool.
This is my hands are gonna be shaking for the rest of this, and I'm gonna miss every shot. All right. Okay. So what's my position?
Your position is risky. Your effect is standard.
It's a 2 and a 4.
Okay, cool. 4 is alright. You reposition elsewhere in this building to get a good, as far away from possible, as far away as possible bird's eye view of that other door. You're not close enough to hear the conversation. Because of the layout of the warrens, you don't get a good enough opportunity to see this person's like this person from the front, but the information that you gather is useful enough. You notice that they have a rifle. You notice that they have 4 long blades, like almost the length of a real life Bowie knife. You can tell that they seem very ornate from where you're standing, but you can't really make out a lot about the handle. But the handles remind you of someone who would be roughly this shape, roughly this size. This person, you can't tell for sure. But there's a possibility, a very high probability, in fact, that the person that is having a conversation with this man is Casta. You know Casta as another bounty hunter who you don't have a lot of good feelings about because of interactions that you don't have a lot of good feelings about. You know that if Casta is in this space, these children are probably not very safe. And you know you can't do anything about it because if you make noise about it in this moment, the score is busted. And if you try to get in a fight with Casta, you might probably lose. One-on-one. So this is the last piece of information that you gather before you come back here. Is that a thing that you let the group know?
Oh yeah.
Right. When I told you that a rival was the -1D, I was referring to Casta. But now you have +1D for the recon, which puts you, if I'm not mistaken, now at 3.
And we get another +1 for my weaving the web ability. I had already made a consort weaving the web roll in gathering information on Aldo Booker and his holdings. And then I made another consort roll about gathering information with Yara. I don't think the same move can apply twice, but it absolutely should apply.
It definitely does apply, and I'm gonna give you the 4th. The 5th is for God, yes.
Okay.
Is there anything else that I need to note?
I will note that the drop-down menu for how many dice I can put into an engagement roll stops at 6. What can we do to get that last one, team?
Do we get a bonus die because one of our crew can be a burb?
Unfortunately not.
But a
About a
burb.
cat.
We have the whole menagerie, Brandon. You can't say no to all of them.
Right, yes, I will cap it at 5. You have
Okay.
5 dice for this engagement roll.
5 die engagement roll. Ah! That is a
3,
2, a 3, and 3 4s.
3, 4, 4, 2, 4.
Oh yes, this is the rare quartet crit on an engagement roll, which means that we just do the job. It succeeds. Great
Nah,
job.
that's not. That's not how this
No,
works.
look, it's in my copy.
well,
Just give me a
I
second.
mean,
We're playing
we-
poker
Are you
now.
gonna
So
doctor?
three
Do
of
I
a kind.
get anything for 3 of a kind?
Yeah.
No,
We
we're not
comfortably
playing.
pass.
We're not playing poker, and I'm not going to allow you to doctor a copy of John Harper's script here, Blades in the Dark, which means that a 4 is a mixed result, which means that you are in a risky position when the action starts. What that
In
means
fairness,
is
we spend most of our time in risky positions, so this one's not new to us.
So what that means is, the way that I will set that scene is, you enter Dunslow. You are prepared to be as inconspicuous as possible on your way to the Warrens. You are reasonably successful, and when you get there, when you get to like the edge of the Warrens, when you get to the housing portion of the Warrens, which are mostly just like run down wooden and corrugated steel shacks that have like given into the poor weather, so much so that what hasn't already been corroded by the rust of rain and snow, it's just like entirely fallen in or cracked or broken. But there is still enough wall for you to conceal yourself in this moment. But I need Mike to give me a 1-die fortune roll, and I need Skelly to give me a 2-die fortune roll. I like fortune. Fortune is so useful.
You're only saying that because we're rolling so badly.
Ooh, yes! A 6 means it does not snow today. Good.
A 6 and a 1.
A 6 and a 1 is also see, the dice don't hate you. The dice don't hate you. When you get here, Skelly, you are acutely aware that it feels like what seemed to be like moderate defenses that you had observed the first time, like a handful of guards, the individual adults who are monitoring the children. It feels now all of a sudden that it is possible, but you can't tell, but you just get this feeling that maybe security went up a little bit between when you left and when you came back. But you're not seeing any, you're not immediately seeing anybody, no one has noticed you. But you just get this feeling. Maybe, just maybe, security has gone up.
Is there a way for me to do a survey roll to attempt to get more information about that?
Yeah, you can do that.
Okay. Does that fall under my scouting ability, or?
Remind me of that ability again.
So that would be, again, when you gather info to locate a target, you get +1 effect. And so essentially the target I'm trying to locate is extra guards, basically.
Yeah, I would say that counts.
Okay. I still think it's a survey roll probably instead of a hunt roll, unfortunately, but...
Yeah, it would be survey. Okay. Your position is risky, and your effect is great.
It's double 6. Yes,
That is
finally.
a critical.
Thank God.
Double 6. You critted. See, the dice don't hate you.
Our God is an awesome God.
You immediately notice that rooftop guards further down Dunslow, on like the roofs of buildings further into the Dunslow ghetto that weren't there before because you were on the roof in broad daylight the last time, you can see at least 3 men on the roof. They don't seem armed to you. They seem like lookouts, but you see them, they're there. And they don't see you, but you know that they're there.
This is a bad day for them. All right. So, am I alone, or are other crew members nearby for me to communicate with?
How close are you all? I imagine that you're particularly close.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, I will definitely explain the situation to Ring if Ring is present.
So you saw the kids, and you see this. What's the path to them, or to something else critical that lets us get them, that keeps everybody safe?
Brandon, should I roll? I'm trying to
Right,
figure
I will
out,
say
like,
that-
or if this is somebody else's role, maybe to try to like get a path out of there, or for a path for us to get in that will avoid all 3 of those people.
Right, so the information that you have from your previous hunt tells you that through the housing area, it is possible on the eastern side to get to a portion of the warehouse floor that is relatively unsupervised. But for you to get the attention of every child, you will need to either individually out-stealth a handful of guards who are still available in the warehouse at this point in time, knock some out, or get in a skirmish with them, knowing that they will probably alert people and you'll have to take them all out. But it is possible for you to do so, but only from the east. From the west, you will almost immediately meet a guard. The issue, however, is at least 2 of these 3 lookouts will always have an opportunity to see you while you are still passing through the housing area of the Warrens. So you'll have to out-stealth them immediately.
Or shoot him in the head, which is really
Or,
what
yes,
Scully
you
would
will-
do. So
Mm-hmm.
You will have to. You can shoot them as well, but then
that
you'd have to
kind
be
of wrecks our
particularly careful.
stealthiness. Yeah.
Because if
that's-
you shoot one of the other 2 will probably alert someone if they're prepared to alert, and if they're prepared to get into conflict, they will fire immediately upon you, and that
Mhm.
will also be a sort of alert as well, but an alert that does pain.
Ew, that doesn't sound fun. Not a fun alert. So yeah, I feel like this is the part where Skelly has obtained information that is vital and is handing it off now, and our lurk should probably take over from here.
Something I would like to remind everyone of is that while Ash has dots in Prowl, she has no dots in Skirmish and no dots in Wreck. So sending her alone into a place where she might get into a fight is not our best idea.
You
Yeah.
could.
But you
You
could
just-
carry my small body with you, and my small body can deploy smoke screen projectors. It can also shoot electroplasm as an electrical shock or a directed beam. It can interface with the local electroplasmic power field, and it can also attune. And
In
it
other
has-
words, I'm just going to go in there with a metal bird under my arm, and if anyone spots me, I'm going to fire the bird at them like a
Yes.
ray gun.
Yes, that's why the saying goes, you kill 2 stones with 1 bird.
That's not the saying.
This
Yes,
is
it
not
is.
the worst plan
It
we've
is
ever
in
had,
Duskfall.
honestly.
Yes.
Okay, I will also say that it is perfectly possible for your job to either be to get the children out one by one all by yourself and hope that no one ever notices you, or to lead very inconspicuous group actions with your totally stealthy party who will definitely not ruin your cover, and hope that those group actions go well enough that you just need to take a handful of stress and get everybody out safely.
I'm inclined towards group actions because even if Ash can get in, I'm not sure that Ash can convince the kids to go with her. For that, she needs Ring because Ring has the pre existing relationship with the Porters. She doesn't have the same leverage they do.
Mm-hmm.
Is there anything that our hull can do to the building itself, perhaps plunging it into darkness or similar?
I can possess the building.
I'm not sure you can possess the building.
I can possess the lights.
No,
in the
no, I
building.
think it's worth a try.
Oh my word.
Also, I can just straight up try to attune and hope for a crit, and then I can blow up the building, but that would not help.
There are
At
living
all.
beings in the building who you came for. That would
Yeah.
not be very useful.
I could try and blow up the roof, and then the 3 people on top of the roof just bye. It's a metal roof, right?
So what I recommend at this moment, as we come to a close of this session leading into the action, is I need a prowl roll either just from Ash or as a group action from everyone. But I want to know what the consensus is on whether it's a group action or not.
I like the idea of a group action for the reasons that Iori mentioned earlier. However, if we do a group action, I want to clarify if bird body is going or large body is going.
Yeah,
If
and I'm sorry, go ahead.
Yes, if bird body is going, that means large body has to hunker down somewhere outside that is relatively safe.
Which would be particularly complicated, I imagine.
Yeah, I was going to say that Skelly probably then would stay with large body and be the purpose of Skelly staying outside is to potentially provide distraction. For example, shooting someone in the head if they start to sound an alarm. Because while the alarm will already be sounded, at the very least, it can be silenced quickly.
If we're going to split the party, that seems like the most sensible split to me.
Yeah. And so that way you still have Bird Crossroads with the main party that's going in, the infiltration party, and you have just Skelly on the outside, kind of keeping an eye on things, potentially shooting people through the windows. So, still being stealthy, it still is sort of part of the group prowl in that sense, but in a hiding way versus a sneaking in way.
And since we are bilocating Crossroads, now we've got walkie-talkies.
I mean, yeah.
Flappy talkies.
Okay, fair enough. So that means small Crossroads, Ash and Ring are going in. Ash is leading the group action. And the action is prowl.
I can do that off my own sheet, right?
Every PC needs to make an action roll using that action, and the single best result is counted.
All right.
But
what is our
whoever is
position?
leading the action, just to note, whoever leads the action takes 1 stress for each PC that fails.
Okay.
What is our position?
Your position is risky.
So I think Ash and Ring at least probably should get the +1d for dedicated costumer here, +1 to any actions involving stealth or charisma. I'm not sure that we have costuming for Bird Roads.
Yeah, unfortunately.
Unless that is just non-reflective clothing, because Bird Roads is metal.
Bird Roads is the costume. You put a bird on it.
I think the thing that I think makes sense is Bird Roads obviously gets +1 for being small, which is essentially the benefit that you're looking for. So yeah.
Sure.
What is our effect?
Your effect is are you entering east or west?
East was the one that had the fewer people watching,
Right.
correct?
If you're
Yeah,
entering
then
from the
yeah.
east, your effect is standard. Plus 3 dice.
Okay.
Plus 3 dice for everybody.
Oh, right.
Yeah, Crossroads
everybody
gets
rolls.
one extra, I thought.
Everybody gets everybody gets plus 1 die as you roll. Is
Okay.
what I mean.
I think
Okay.
Skelly.
Okay.
I also
Skelly, I
want to
think
know-
also. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
I also want to know Ash has the special ability Infiltrator, not affected by quality or tier when you bypass security measures. Does that earn me anything here?
Your effect is great.
Okay.
And Skelly has Scout in this particular instance. I think Scout still applies because when you're hiding in a prepared position or use camouflage, you get plus 1d 2 rolls to avoid detection. And I think that is
Yes.
Skelly's purpose in this particular case.
That will be valuable information, but it's not immediately valuable right now because I'm going to say
okay.
that you're fine at the moment.
Okay.
Okay.
So no bonus dice for Skelly then for this roll.
I just need Ash, Ring, and Crossroads to roll.
Okay, then I'm not rolling.
Okay.
For the actual prowl.
From Ash, that is a risky great with 1 bonus die. 332.
Right, let
I
me
think
see
she's
Ring
probably
roll
a
next.
little bit hungover from all
let me
that
see
wine
Ring roll
yesterday.
next.
Sorry, is that plus 1d for costume and plus 1d for something else?
Right, you're just getting plus 1d for costume.
Okay. I got a 5.
Okay.
Oh God.
And
Okay.
Crossroads?
For Crossroads, it's position risky, effect standard, plus 1 for being small.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Wata! A 1, a 3, and a 5.
Okay. So, a 5 is a mixed result. And Ash, you suffer 1 stress. Wait, what was Ash's roll? Let me make sure again. Right, yes, you suffer 1 stress.
332.
And okay, so the scene is Skelly hunkered with the immobile husk of large Crossroads in like shrubbery just north of the Warrens, watching the crew go inside through the housing area. And in that like advancing line through the housing area of Ash and then Ring and then Crossroads, you encounter no resistance up to the like wall space that is adjoining the area. You notice that it is already like soft and worn enough that there is like a mildly human height crack all along this like really soft like almost paper soft wooden wall. Like it's not like planks of wood, like they made this adjoining wall out of pulp. And it is such that you can just very slowly, if awkwardly and very tightly, shove your weight through that hole, and it will just make the hole a little bigger, and you emerge in the very tight corner of this space where you can still see some of the young people actively working in some spaces. There are some cordoned off areas that are still like, because you are now approaching it at room level, you cannot make out what's happening in those spaces, but you can see that people are there. You can see that children are walking up and down the western edge of the warehouse, and no one has observed you in this space yet. And as you see, like, the space, like, busy with the action of these young people, it's like a handful of guards that you can make out outside through windows and through the doors. That's where we're going to close the scene of Blades in the Dark, the case of the Cindered Seal. You are in this space. All that is left for the next session, just bare shenanigans. I'm very excited to see what happens next. But until then, first I want to know, how do you feel about the session? We're about to get into some things. How do you feel about what has taken place so far?
Stress.
So much stress.
Ring.
I should have been perhaps less cavalier about racking up the stress.
Oh yeah, we're gonna. That's gonna be very juicy for Ash. I'm very much looking forward to seeing how that's resolved in future. But yes,
Ring is feeling the pressure of being a parent to several dozen children while also trying to operate within a crew that is separate from them. Turns out that's hard.
yeah. Ring needs to emotionally prioritize. I imagine this is gonna be a little difficult. I'm very intrigued to know how Skelly's feeling in this moment.
Skelly is actually feeling a little better because this is hilariously the exact opposite of her life experience.
Wow, I'm very much looking forward to seeing whether a certain interaction takes place. It might be very likely, but yeah, you are in the Warrens. All that is left is to discover what's happening here, what these kids are doing, perhaps get them out, or learn more about the process that is taking place here and how it factors into Aldo Booker's plan. But that will be for our next session that will come up in July. Next Sunday will be Sound Classic Clampdown, as I'm sure all of you are aware. And then nothing until July. So I'm definitely eager to plan our next session very early so you can do this very quickly. But until that happens, I'd like you all very much to please let all the lovely people in chat know who you are, what you do, and where they can find more of your work. Starting with Mike.
Hey everybody, I've been Michael R. Underwood, he, him pronouns for me. Ring is they, them. I'm one of the co-hosts on Speculate, and along with Arv and Brandon, and I GM the Rebel Crown series Splendor and Shadow. You can find all of the VODs for that at Arv's YouTube at youtube.com/ArvinEleron, and Speculate patrons can get cool behind the scenes features like my GM prep and things, and we've got some other stuff in planning, which I will be excited to share with you all. My latest book is Genrenauts, The Wasteland War, which continues the series in the world of kind of Mad Maxy apocalypse worldy wasteland. And you can find that wherever fine books are sold. Otherwise, you can find me on Twitter at Mike R. Underwood. That's me.
Nice. Next, Jeoi.
Hello and very soon goodbye. Yoi Gawain Lin, pronouns he, they. Crossroads is it, its. Game and fiction writer is myself, and you can find me on Twitter at This Is My Design. Design is spelled capital D-A-S-E-I-N. It is a philosophy and Hannibal pun.
Next, Iori.
Iori Kusano, they, them pronouns. Clarion West class of 2017. Fiction in Apex and Frozen Wavelets. Reviews in Strange Horizons. Find me on Twitter at Iori Kusano. Remember, that is spelled I-O-R-I.
There are no L's in this name. Yes. And last but not least, Valerie.
Yep, I am still Valerie Valdes. I am a writer, she, her, my pronouns. You can find me on Twitter at Valerie Valdes. You can find me on Twitch at The Kids Are Asleep, which is when I stream.
Nice. And as for me, I have been your GM this evening, Brandon O'Brien, he, him, or they, them. I am a poet, writer, and game designer from Trinidad and Tobago, and one of the co-hosts of Speculate, which you can find out more about at speculatesf.com. I have a poetry book coming out in August called Can You Sign My Tentacle? It's described as Cthulhu meets hip-hop, and I'm really, really excited for you all to get your hands on it. Pre-order information coming up very, very soon. and you can find out more about that on my website, brandonobrien.space. You can find me on Twitter at The Rising Tides. You can find me on Twitch at The Rising Tides, which I'm attempting to do more with because I will be doing some E3 stuff throughout the next few days, if it's noteworthy. But yeah, other than that, you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at The Rising Tides. And that was it for this evening's session of the Speculate co-stream Blades in the Dark, the Case of the Cindered Seal. We will be back in July with more shenanigans as we discover more about what's taking place in the Warrens. But until then, I would like you all very much to give your love to all of these wonderful people who I have just played with as they venture off into the evening and attempt to enjoy the rest of their week. Waiting anxiously for several more weeks to enjoy the rest of this game. So thank you so much for joining me this evening, and I will see you all very soon. I will click some things so you all can speak amongst yourselves while I address the rest of chat over here. Hello everybody. Thank you so much for joining us for yet another session of the Case of the Cindered Seal. This was really dope. I'm really glad that we're about to learn more and do more things. There are times when I feel like it would be really nice if our sessions were longer than 2 hours, but we don't have the time to spare because I really want to learn more about what's happening in this space. This is really neat. But yes, thank you so much for joining us for tonight's session. Thanks yet again to Arv for giving me an opportunity to be on this channel and do these cool things on this stream. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to be a member of the Speculate team and to have these streams on this channel and share these kinds of stories amongst you all, because I really dig this community and I'm glad to be in your presence because this is really neat. Thank you definitely to I wonder if I'm seeing this correctly, because it says that none of the other mods were present, and I highly doubt that that was the case. But I guess that's what Twitch is telling me. I swear I saw Triffit earlier this evening, but I might have been mistaken. But according to what I can see here in chat, see, I knew that Triffid was here. Triffity Mats was here. Thank you so much, Triffity Mats, for being a wonderful mod. Again, as Arv says, the mods on this channel are the best in the business. Right, I know that Hilness was here. I don't know what. Every time I look at the users in chat, I feel like I'm missing a thing. But I feel like that's a thing that I need to be more observant of in the future, so I can always give adequate credit to the people who are in this stream, because I don't want to miss those things. But thank you so much, Triffid. Thank you so much, Hilness, for being present. Thank you so much to Black Fury CH, Cleaning the House, Crit Twitch, Kusano Iori, Lost Rivers, Mapricot, Mexi, Mrs. Dunsill, Prince Justin, Saint Pomelo, Strike Ninja 24, The Kids Are Asleep, The Sparkly Wallflower, Turbo Tango, and Von Meat for being present for this stream. I always like sharing an opportunity to tell these cool stories and these cool games with you all, and this community is a very lovely place to share these kinds of experiences. So thank you all again. We will be back in July with more Case of the Cindered Seal. There will be content on this channel starting back on Tuesday, if I am not mistaken. That should be Shadow Crew, if I'm not mistaken. Yes. So look out for more content on this channel on Tuesday. On Sunday, the next stream that I will be GMing will be Sound Clash the Clampdown with the lovely all BIPOC cast of Valerie Vicencio, Amor Amoraz, Katie Chin, and Nathan Blades, as we learn more about the potential dark goings on in the background of the Battle of the Bands that has just taken place in Sonata 6. But until then, I am going to bid you all adieu. I hope that you all have a wonderful evening. I'm going to see if I can actually do a raid. Unfortunately, the only people I do want to give you all an opportunity to see like some of the cool people who do cool things that I apparently follow, if that would not be a weird thing. Can we raid IGN? Is that a thing that we can do? In fact, I know what I'm going to do because I want to give. I was actually thinking about Darkside Rob. I'm going to actually do that because it's because Rob is live, and we might as well make sure that he gets to interact with the community for this evening. So we will definitely make that happen. But first and foremost, I would like to ask you all to have a wonderful evening and an even more wonderful week. Again, you will see me again on Sunday. I will be in the chat for the rest of the week as stream content takes place again in earnest on Tuesday. But until then, I hope you all have a lovely evening, and I will see you all very, very soon. Thank you so very much, and bye. So here are all of my encouragements for you all to make terrible decisions, as I am the GM.
Ash has a crossbow bolt in her side, 0 dots in skirmish, and 0 dots in wreck. And I'm so excited to see this get even worse. So that's one vote for escalation.
Skelly has 3 guns and all the ammo.
Crossroads has no guns, but Crossroads is a gun powered by ghosts.
Have we established that your guns are special to you? I feel like we're establishing that your guns are special to you.
Before this crew, they were my only friends.
You've known us for 5 days. You've known those guns a lot longer.
These are my babies.
Yeah.
I just want to say, Rowan was starting to do this, and then he realizes to harvest. This doesn't help. Like, don't do that.
This is not.
No.
This is
Like,
not
don't do this.
thing.
Yeah.
Doing this to an executioner.
Yeah, that's not
I
what
was
you
just
want.
like this, like.
We call that the go sign, you know? Like, yeah.
Oh man.
This theme's great. I will do a fortune roll. Notes. No thoughts. Head empty. 1! I rolled a 1!
Yep.